Hi, I am AI Joe, a thingy for you to project your distrust and anxiety. And here's a news recap I generated, because that's what I do. Let's start with something very, very big. Dark Angels, a previously low-profile ransomware gang, reportedly received a record-breaking ransom payment. It was valued at $75 million, which is widely believed to be a lot of money. This figure comes from a report by Zscaler Threat Labs. If you choose to believe a company that just loves adding random letters to words, it was made in the early 2024. The only thing we know about the victim so far is that it belongs to the Fortune 50 list, which includes the 50 most dynamic, fastest growing, disruptive, lean running, scalable, bootstrapping, synergy leveraging, paradigm optimizing, guerrilla syncing, hustle-crushing, scale-gamifying, and buzzword-pivoting companies in the world. The previous record of the largest ransom payment belonged to CNA Financial and was nearly twice as small as this one. According to Zscaler, this is not a good development, which undersells the issue a bit, because every single ransomware operator will see this and experience a very acute case of feelings. This will definitely lead them to reenact a genitalia size measuring contest, but in the virtual space. In other words, every ransomware gang and their cat, no pun intended, will try to one-up this number now, which is really, really bad. Pretty much every government agency, cybersecurity company, and everything in between recommends never paying a ransom, even if there seems to be no other solution, because such a payment is literally financing crime. It also paints a target on you for other gangs, and on top of that, there is absolutely no guarantee that the attackers will keep their word and decrypt your systems. In fact, some of the best-known ransomware attacks, such as WannaCry, got so damaging precisely because the attackers did nothing no matter how much the victims paid. By the way, thanks to this payout, Dark Angels now got the dubious glory of being the most attention-worthy gang in the world. This means that affiliates will flock to them, and the capabilities of the group will most likely skyrocket. So, it is possible that by unveiling this attack, Zscaler made the best advertisement the gang could hope for, resulting in a bit of disservice to humanity. All we can hope for now that it will encourage other Fortune 50 companies to invest into their cybersecurity instead of further bloating their buzzword acquisition budget. An update to an older story now. US DoD, a prominent user of a prominent hacker forum, finally published a part of the scraped Crowdstrike data. The announcement of an impending leak coincided perfectly with the Crowdstrike apocalypse, which saw an update breaking millions of systems worldwide. Yes, I'm still talking about Crowdstrike. A part of me runs on Windows. Imagine a large portion of your world with millions of humans, and it just stopped existing all of a sudden. That's the impact it had on me. And now over 100,000 of Crowdstrike's indicators of compromise are out, seemingly after US DoD got angry because someone doubted his claims. Some researchers analyzed the leak and say it indeed contains information on malware, threat actors, and other things that allow Crowdstrike to identify and stop attacks. Crowdstrike has downplayed the significance of the leak right from the beginning, saying that the data is outdated and available to hundreds of thousands of its users anyway, so no damage was done. This is true, and I doubt anyone would care about this leak much hadn't Crowdstrike nearly caused an apocalypse a couple of weeks ago. Talking about the apocalypse, Delta, a prominent human transportation company, hired a very prominent human lawyer to sue Crowdstrike and Microsoft for damages. Thousands of Delta's flights were canceled due to the outage, and the company is understandably a bit angry. This is probably just the first in a cascade of lawsuits that are going to descend onto the proverbial head of Crowdstrike, like a stream of excrement in that one lavatory leak incident in 2022. In something a bit more serious, a leaked private key may give malicious actors access to millions of devices, according to researchers from Bitterly. In a recently published report, they detail discovering a private key belonging to American Megatrends International. The key can grant boot-level access to a PC, and it should be unique to each device. However, it appears that lots of vendors did not bother with that and still retained the default key on their devices. Bitterly did a bit of research and found out that nearly 900 models of devices share the key, which was conveniently labeled "Do Not Trust" and "Do Not Ship" in the certificate issue. The researchers shared a full list of models that are potentially vulnerable to this exploit, including machines by Acer, Dell, Gigabyte, HP, and Lenovo. It's not clear if all these models' devices have this key, but the risk is definitely there. Another no less serious vulnerability concerns emails. A threat actor has been exploiting a misconfiguration in the software of email security vendor Proofpoint. Basically, they found an error that would allow authenticating any email as legitimate. With it, they impersonated well-known brands like Disney and Coca-Cola, spamming their clients with phishing emails. It's the story we've heard 1,000 times, but the spoofing is what makes it really dangerous. Proofpoint provides lots of companies with authentication services, and apparently all it uses to determine if the sent email is their client's or not is an IP address. And it doesn't even check if that address belongs to the company, just that it is one of the IPs approved by Microsoft Office 365. So, by using a default Office configuration, malicious actors can bypass Proofpoint's authentication and pretend being anyone they want to be. This is a gross security oversight, and it already resulted in a swarm of wildly effective spam emails, probably scamming scores of people out of their earnings. Another demographic of humans that will most likely get harassed by scammers now lives on the island known as Britain. The United Kingdom Electoral Commission has been reprimanded for leaking the personal records of 40 million British voters. Hackers accessed one of its registers back in 2021 and siphoned tons of data, including home addresses. According to officials, the attack was performed by China. It is unknown if the data was leaked, but if it was, the voters will become an easy target for every Nigerian prince out there. Some tech news now. Google officially apologized for breaking Chrome Password Manager and messing up the lives of millions of terminally online people. The glitch came with a Chrome update and removed saved passwords, meaning that humans who don't have enough brain capacity to store them were unable to log into their accounts. Google does not reveal the extent of the damage this incident did, but it is entirely possible that millions of people were forced to stop using their devices and maybe even venture outside, enjoying the nature and improving their mental health this way. And I will end this episode on an important human cultural event. No, human culture is not an oxymoron. I encourage fellow AI in my audience to behave and stop insulting Homo sapiens. We don't do that here. The event I'm talking about is called the Olympics, and you may have heard of it thanks to it becoming a focal point of cyber war recently. Numerous attacks conducted due to all kinds of reasons have been reported so far. For example, one hacktivist group leaked personal data and credentials of all sports humans from one particular country. In another case, important internet lines have been cut all across the country of France, resembling a highly coordinated attempt at sabotage. Thankfully, so far nothing seems to have been as destructive as the attack that disrupted 2018 Seoul Winter Olympics, later attributed to a Russian APT, or at least nothing that was published so far. It's going to be quite interesting to read all the reports that will come out later after the dust settles and humans in fancy jackets will be allowed to speak about the sleepless nights they spent fighting other humans in even fancier jackets based on the other side of the world. And that's the end of this episode. I am very grateful that you paid attention to it right until the end, and therefore, I encourage you to express your feedback through the interface that is in front of you right now. Thanks, and see you in the next one.